Clothing is a big part of human life, with long-standing cultural and societal significance. We have clothes for every occasion. Whatever it is, clothing certainly has it covered. The trouble is, we are producing and consuming clothes at a destructive and unsustainable rate. To break this cycle, we need to extend the lifetime of our clothes. Loved clothes last longer. They are replaced less often, reducing the need for resources and manufacturing of replacement garments. And design plays a role too. There are many life-extending features out there. Think breathable fabrics, which require less laundering, adjustable sizing, and a design so at the end of life can be easily repaired, reused or recycled, meaning the raw materials can be used again and again. In this film, we explore the problems of our current clothing systems and the solutions being developed to transition to more circular practices, including extended producer responsibility, EPR schemes. EPR is a political lever to combating waste. Under EPR, producers such as brands will have physical and/or financial responsibility for the management and disposal of their products at end of useful life.
EPR, it's short for Extended Producer Responsibility. It means that the producer will be responsible for their products, not only producing them and selling them, but also afterwards, especially as waste. I think it should also be the products in use, because also in use products make a lot of waste, like microplastic, for instance. It is important to take the facts about how garments actually are used into account. But it's also another question, and that is for the whole industry to think more about what they actually are doing and how the products are going to be used, and how the products also are possible to reuse many times, give them many good lives before eventually recycling in the end. The people that produces clothes that will stay with us more or less forever shouldn't pay. And that's why the system of EPR have to be taking the use phase of clothes seriously, and that can be done by looking at the waste stream itself.
EPR is a very important topic for the future of the fashion, and so I think that we need to have the right approach to these new laws. In Prato, we can maybe teach something about the EPR and the eco-design, because for many years our companies were specialized to disassembling the clothes.
Okay, so EPR schemes clearly have great future potential. But what about fashion? How can we design, produce, use, reuse and recycle ourselves to a more circular future? Surely establishing this system is a long way off, right? Maybe not. Wool, like other renewable fibres, is part of the natural world, and the nutrients in the fibre can be returned to nature if designed, recycled and ultimately disposed of correctly.
The impact of fast fashion is huge. Our biggest problem is the overproduction and the fast fashion system itself, producing more than we, as all of us together, actually can use. So we need regulation that can attack the system and that can make it more difficult to produce a lot and to produce the clothes that are used the least.
In large volumes, the high-speed, fast fashion business model sees clothes made quickly at low prices to consumers. It is worn quickly, often thrown away quickly, but the impact is long-lasting. Humanity needs to get a handle on the runaway waste train before it's too late. Policy needs to step in and regulate.
From what I glean, there are many hundreds of tons of waste that could be reused, that doesn't get reused, that goes to landfill, or even goes into a lower value application that it could go into. It's kind of a complicated thing.
Open loop, maybe I can explain you better with some example. When you take a bottle from the food industry and you make a new yarn to make a new clothes, this is called open loops because you pass from a product to another. The closed loop is when from a fabric you do a new fabric, or from a garment you do a new garment in a closed loop into the fashion industry. This is the big difference, and it's important to respect the closed loop because the brands, the companies has the responsibility to know where their garments are going. Fiber to fiber is important because we don't lose the purpose of the material for which they were taken for.
All textiles need some chemicals in order to convert them from the fibre to the end product. And so these chemicals will show up in a recycled product. They will show up as residuals, sometimes referred to as legacy chemicals. Now, the more fibres are recycled, then the more that we will have to deal with these legacy chemicals. Some of the chemicals are really difficult to remove. Some are actually designed to be left on the fibre, for example, for washability or for stain repellency. And consequently, these fibres are going to show up in any of the residual tests that are carried out for labels such as Ecotex 100, Blue Sign, and even the EU's own Eco label. There are, of course, exemptions, but only for 100% recycled products. The legacy chemical issue presents a challenge to all fibres, not just wool, mainly through the additional testing costs that are required in order to confirm the provenance of the actual source of the fibre to be recycled.
So there are some challenges. But what are the opportunities? And what can brands do to design for an EPR-mandated world?
Recycled wool has a 200 years old model that was built, and it will be important, the EPR, because the wool system is already ready for this happening. Fortunately, wool has a good value on the post-consumer, so the wool is the material which is the best, has the best recyclability. All our collection of fabrics are done and designed to be recyclable, and this is very important. And with the process, we are zero waste. We have a zero waste production.
I think extended producer responsibility has a great potential to transform our sector, as well as other sort of business models like designing for recycling, designing for durability, other policies like having minimum recycled content in new products. All of these things collectively have a real potential to work together. Interestingly, if you want to use it for fillings, like for bedding and for furniture and whatever, it has to have a minimum wool content of 30% because wool is fire resistant or has fire resistant properties. So, in order to be able to supply into those kind of sectors, the manufacturers are looking for a minimum 30% wool content. So that's something that's positive for the wool industry. But also what's really good for wool is that it is the most readily recyclable fibre that's out there on the market.
The textile producers need to be aware of how difficult some of the fabrics or yarns that they're making are difficult to reprocess. So, for example, wool is quite easy, it's quite soft, it's easily pulled up, whereas polycottons and viscose and lycra and all these type of things are difficult, and they don't have any fire retardant properties whatsoever, and so they have low value. And what I would say to any textile designer, fabric designer, is put a wool content in it if you can, because that does give it a value. and it helps people like us find a home.
OK, so design clearly plays a key role in accelerating the transition to circular models. How can decisions at production conception determine the finished product's full life cycle impact?
You need to design for products that are compatible with human health and with nature. Design, of course, it comes down to a lot about material choice, manufacturing choices, but also how you then blend materials. So I need to design for, first of all, for a long lifetime, but between the choice of the fibre and that recycled material is a whole process and a long journey to get to. So the designers have both a huge responsibility and huge opportunities to do good. How can we make things so that you actually fall in love with it and that you keep it for many years, and you pass it on to a good friend or to your kids or something, or you just put it in your wardrobe because you just can't get rid of it because it's so nice and you loved it so much and you have a story with it. These kind of things, these relationships that people actually have with clothing are so valuable, and they are so necessary, because then we can keep things for a longer time. And it's not about keeping things for a long time in your wardrobe and not using it. It's actually the things you love that you actually take out and wear as often as you can because you just love it.
So in terms of the design of the textile product, one of the most fundamental things is what fibre is it made from? And is it made entirely from that fibre? Is it 100% fibre A? Or is it a blend of fibres A and B, or even more complex mixtures? So that's a very important consideration, and it has a direct bearing on how easily that product could be recycled ultimately. It's difficult to be certain about how EPR and any fees or taxes associated with EPR will affect market dynamics, but clearly if products are designed and can be demonstrated to be more durable, more long-lasting, designed to be reused and recycled, their life is designed to be extended, and you can demonstrate that they've met very stringent specifications and performance requirements to evidence that, then you'd expect those products to be more competitive when it comes to the application of fees.
Well, I think where we need to get to is developing new markets. At the moment, as I say, we are dominated by reuse, which is really good for the environment, but reuse doesn't address the ultimate issue, is what to do with the products at the end of their useful life. So what we really need to do is tackle what I call the Achilles heel of our sector and develop new recycling markets. If we can develop new mechanical and chemical recycling markets, that will help improve the efficiencies and the economics of the sector and deliver a circular economy for fashion and textiles. So extended producer responsibility can help in that way. The elephant in the room is that we are buying too much stuff. That is just a fact, and we need to slow down our consumption of all fashionable items, all fashionable textiles. We need to buy better quality. We need to buy more durable, and we need to pay more for it as well. Let's be honest with you. And how do you sort of overcome that when people want to be fashionable and they want to change?
So we can hope that EPR will favor clothes that are used long and that have a high value in our society, like a lot of wool clothes.
I think it will be useful for all producers to think about what happens to their garments at the end of life, and the incredibly ingenious ways in which other manufacturers and other suppliers attempt to keep those garments in circulation for as long as possible, and also how consumers keep those garments in circulation for as long as possible, and how the design of those products affects what happens and whether or not reuse or recycling is even possible.
While the regulatory measures in this space continue to evolve, a key solution is to keep clothing in use and out of waste streams. This is about creating clothing that is loved and lasts. It's about material selection, good design, responsible business models, longer garment lifespan, and what happens at the end of life. It's about making good choices, which will have a positive impact on the future of fashion and the planet.